Top 10 running backs entering the 2025 season. We're Philly Sports Talk. I'm Coy Camiscioli along with Eli Namey and Cade Gargano. Again, part two of this four-part series. Today with running backs. Tight ends was a couple days ago. How's it going, guys?
Hey, how are you?
It's going well. It's going well.
Yeah, we just started recording. Well, we thought for 5 minutes, and then I realized I forgot to hit record. But we're here now, and we'll just get right into it. This is not fantasy based. This is who we think the best running backs in the league are, and kind of depending on how they'll do this year as well. I'll tell you guys my list for last year for the second time now, but for the first time on record. At number 10, I had Josh Jacobs, so obviously he outperformed that. 9, James Cook. 8, Jameer Gibbs. 7, Travis Etienne, so Etienne obviously sucked. 6, Bijan Robinson. 5, I had Derrick Henry. 4, Breece Hall. 3, Saquon Barkley. 2, Jonathan Taylor. And 1, CMC. RBs are tough to predict. I'll give myself a little grace there, but again, those were not the best rankings. So let's get right into the list. We'll talk about our honorable mentions. I have James Cook, Devon Achane, and Kyron Williams all missing. As honorable mentions, and yeah, I could see a case for any of these guys being on the list, though.
I also had Devon Achane and James Cook, but then I also had Joe Mixon as my other guy who just missed it. I think all of those guys could easily be on a top 10 list, but they just didn't make it for me.
I also had Devon Achane and James Cook. I threw in Kyron Williams as well, and I wanted to mention Chase Brown, who is my number 11, but he just didn't crack my top 10.
Yeah, so some good running backs. You can make a case for any of those guys inside the top 10. But at number 10, we'll get us going. This is my tier 4 players right here. So, like, obviously, really good running backs. Number 10, I have Chase Brown. I think he's going to have a monster season, especially with how we've seen him in the preseason. 4.3 yards per carry last year, 990 yards. He really didn't emerge to the second half, and now he's the clear cut favorite in the backfield. So I think he's due to have an absolutely top 10 RB season. We saw Joe Mixon do it in that Bengals offense. I think a lot of guys can do it in that offense. I think Chase Brown is a talented guy for number 10.
So for my number 10, Cade's not going to like this one, but I have the Viking himself, Aaron Jones. He had some career marks last season, and he's got an extension now. And I think JJ McCarthy sucks. So, you know, I like Aaron Jones there. I think he's going to get a lot of work this season.
Yeah, you're right. I don't like that pick. I think Jordan Mason's at this point of his career is the more talented back. Aaron Jones is old, injury prone, and I don't know. I took the complete opposite route at number 10. I chose the rookie of Marion Hampton, 1,600 yards in 12 games last year in college, 15 touchdowns, one of the highest graded, running back prospects we've seen in years. And Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman love to run the football in LA. I think it's a perfect spot. They took him with first round draft capital. Uh, yeah, I think he's a 3 down back. He's going to catch passes. He can block well. He's going to get the goal line work. And Najee Harris is blind, so I really don't see a world where he starts the season. I think this is a perfect spot for Marion Hampton to go.
Surprisingly, Kate, I didn't have him on my list, and I honestly, I'm like, maybe that blew over my head. Maybe I would have him at 10, but it's close because I've been so high on Hampton. If not, I'm throwing him in as my honorable mentions now as well. I'll keep my list. So that's our number 10 spot. Number 9, Kate, I'm going with a different rookie. I'm going Ashton Genty. I have him a little bit like I think a lot of people are getting really excited about Genty, recently so, but I think he's gonna have a season kind of similar to Bijan in his rookie year, where it was just like a really. I don't think his system will be as bad as Bijan's was his first year because the Falcons were brain dead offensively. I think Geno Smith is honestly a top 15 or so quarterback, maybe top 14, top 12, honestly, in football. And I think it's not the worst offense for a rookie running back to go into. So again, I think something similar to Bijan's rookie year. I don't think he's going to be insane, but I think he's going to have a good year. That's why I have him at 9.
So I really don't have too much to add, as I felt Cade covered almost all of it. I also had Amarian Hampton on my list. He's my number 9 spot. I think he's in an excellent situation. I love him. I'm really excited to see what he does. I'm like, he's going to be one of those guys I watch a lot this season.
I think one of my hot takes recently is he might outperform Ashton Genty in his rookie year, which kind of is contradicting because I don't have Hampton on my list. But I can really see it.
Yeah, his position I think is better than. Obviously, I think his position's better than
Definitely.
Genty does.
Yeah, 1,600 yards and 16 touchdowns in 12 games in college is unbelievable in last season alone. But my number 9 Koi is also Ashton Genty. I think he's a little. He's one of the best running back prospects we've ever seen in football history. I mean, he's unbelievable. Runner up in the Heisman Awards. He is a tad undersized, which is funny to say because he's built like a little tank. Like he's a bigger guy, but he's a little small. And I would like to see him, not try to run over every single player in football. Like he's not going to be able to do that in the NFL like he did at Boise State. Like we saw the one clip of him running over Diamador Lenore, which is fine because he's a cornerback, but then he also got trucked by a linebacker. So
Lenore.
yeah, you never
Lenore.
know. But I do think Ashton Gency is just his talent is unbelievable, and Chip Kelly loves to run the football. Like absolutely loves to run the football. As we know as Eagles fans, like it doesn't matter if the Raiders are one of the best teams or worst teams in football. They're gonna run, and I think his opportunity is great. I think the talent is unbelievable. I think he's so good.
Yeah, so we agree with that. Shigenti at number 9. I like it. Getting into our number 8s right now. Number 8, I have Bucky Irving. So I don't know where you guys are going to have him. But, I don't know why. I feel I'm kind of biased towards this guy. I don't know why I don't like him as much as other people, but his numbers and the way he plays definitely is better than what I make him seem to be. 5.4 yards per carry, which is actually unreal. 1,122 yards last season. He put Rashad White in the rearview mirror. And I just think he's going to continue to do what he did last year because he was excellent last season for the Buccaneers. Um, we'll see what happens with their, the new coaching system there. But for the most part, I like Bucky here at number 8.
So I have I have Ashton Genty at my number 8. Kate kind of stole the show. I'm not about to repeat what he just said, but I think he's one of the best RB prospects we've ever seen, and I just think he's gonna have a great season regardless of where he is.
Yeah, I think both of those rookies are in for pretty good seasons. My number 8 is also Bucky Irving. I'm kind of shocked. I thought I was going to be the highest out of all of us. But yeah, I mean, he played all 17 games last year. Like Coy said, he stole the role from Rashad White. 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns. He's a great pass catcher. And I think Coy has a personal bias against him because his arch nemesis in fantasy football knocked him off with Bucky Irving. I think that's where it's stemming from. But no, he's a great running back, and I think he's young. I mean, obviously he was a rookie last year, so I really like Bucky Irving this year. He's my number 8.
Yeah.
All right, so something that's gonna make my Aaron Jones take seem even worse is I don't even have Bucky Irving in my top 10.
That's bad.
He's not in my top 10. I hate him.
That's really bad. But also, we clowned you for not having Dalton Kincaid in your top 10 tight ends last year, and you were right. So you never know. But I think Bucky Irving's absolutely a top 10 talent in football.
Yeah. All right. Well, then this rounds out my tier 4 guys, number 7. And I'm very intrigued here, guys. I got CMC at number 7. And there's a bunch of things that factor into that. The 6 ahead of him, I think, are healthy. And I think they're in good situations that honestly are probably even better than the Niners situation. You could say that the Niners have no weapons. They have to feed CMC. Well, yeah, they have to feed CMC. And that just means a bigger workload. We just saw the Niners trade for Brian Robinson, though. I don't think that affects his value in fantasy or in real life. But honestly, this guy was consensus like number 1 for us last year. The injuries is just bad. It was Achilles tendonitis, which literally means he had to stop playing because his Achilles were going to tear. And that is really, really concerning for an RB on the back end of his career. And I just can't put him any higher than 7 here. So I'm intrigued to see where you guys have CMC. By the
So
way, he
yeah,
only had 50 carries last year. I just want to point that out as well. Just four games played last year.
yeah, I think CMC is it's a tough guy in terms of where to put him just because we obviously know how talented he could be, but it's just the injuries are questionable. But for my 7, I have a guy Cade is not very fond of. I have Jonathan Taylor.
No,
Um,
I don't. I
I like
like Jonathan
KT.
Taylor. I
I
just
like
don't like him in
KT.
fantasy football.
yeah, that's true. That's true. He did always say that in the context of fantasy, he didn't like him. But I think the QB situation there sucks. I think Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones are both terrible. Although Anthony Richardson is very young, so give him a little bit of credit. But I think Jonathan Taylor is still a very, very talented guy. 1,400 yards last year, 11 TDs, pretty good season. 14 games he played, and I think he's gonna have a great one this season.
Yeah, my number 7 is Josh Jacobs. I think Josh Jacobs had a great season last year, but I feel like it's also important to remember before coming into last season, I think the Packers were probably the best option for him because they just relied on him so heavily at the end of the season. But he's always been a good running back and has been in Vegas, but he was never like a great running back. I mean, he had 800 yards the season before last. So he was never a top 5 guy coming into the year before he went to Green Bay, but he had a great season. So I have to give him some credit here at number 7. But I don't think I can go too much higher. I don't think he's the exact talent level of the 6 guys I have above him, but man, he can break tackles.
I I only have Jacobs. So that was your number 7, correct?
Yeah, Josh Jacobs was my number
Okay,
7.
I'll get into Jacobs a little bit because I do have him a little higher. Um, we'll get into our number 6s actually, and I'll get into Jacobs in a few. But this is my tier 3 of guys. So these two players, like, they can control games. They're in a tier of their own. I have 5 and 6 together before it enters another tier. At 6, I have JT, Jonathan Taylor. So I'm going to add on there, just 14 games played, 1,400 plus yards, 11 touchdowns. Now, he did break out some big time games in the end of his season, and he was probably your league winner if you had him in fantasy. 177 yards in a week. Well, that was week 17 or 18, but before that, 125 yards in week 17 and 218 yards in week 16, and before that, 107 yards. And he scored 5 touchdowns between week 16 and 17. So,
Should have had 6 touchdowns if you guys remember. He dropped the ball at the
oh
goal
yeah,
line.
I do. Yeah, that's great. So honestly, I really like Jonathan Taylor. I think he might be entering the underrated category. If I'm being serious, I have to give him his credit here at number 6.
So at my 6 is where I put Josh Jacobs. I definitely agree with Kate in the sense that he may not be as flashy or talented as guys like Bijan or Gibbs or those type of people, but the dude's a workhorse, and I think he's in a great spot at Green Bay, and I think he's going to have another great season, just like he did last season. So I think 6 is a fair spot for him.
Yeah, I also had Jonathan Taylor at 6, like Coy did. Me and Eli just had Jonathan Taylor and Josh Jacobs flipped. I think Taylor's a much better talent than Josh Jacobs,
I
but
agree.
I agree his situation is by far worse than Josh Jacobs. But Jonathan Taylor is a great running back. He's been great for several years. I mean, he was the best running back in football a few years ago. Um, yeah, I don't like the Daniel Jones, but I think it's better than Anthony Richardson. I think maybe Daniel Jones steals a little bit of red zone carries, maybe. But I do trust Shane Steichen. I don't really like their pass catchers other than Tyler Warren. So I think Josh Jacobs, if he stays healthy, he's going to have a top 5, counting stats season.
Yeah, and now this is interesting. I know we're just talking Taylor, but I want to talk a little bit more about Jacobs because he's at my number 5. Um, I think I'm a little higher on Josh Jacobs than you guys are. I think Josh Jacobs can honestly be. I think he is a top 5 talent, top 5 running back talent. I really do. So I definitely have him a little higher than you guys. I'm sorry, 1,329 yards this year, 15 touchdowns. Just a couple years ago, he had 2,053 scrimmage yards, and he had 1,671 scrimmage yards this year. Obviously, not as much of a passing back as like guys like Bijan Gibbs, as Eli said. Well, not necessarily as much Gibbs, but CMC, Bijan, guys like that. But 4.4 yards per carry, the 15 touchdowns, I think he's a workhorse. He was really one of the only reasons why the Packers were in the game with the Eagles in that wild card round. And I just think Josh Jacobs makes the Packers a playoff team. I think without him, I don't think they're a playoff team, if I'm being serious. And to back it up, I was willing to trade a good amount for Jacobs in Dynasty, even at age 27. I was willing to offer a first, a second, and even a couple players for Jacobs. And you know how I feel about trading for running backs in Dynasty. I don't like it, but I really think he's elite, and I think he's a top 5 talent.
Okay, so I'm kind of think I'm more with Kate on this one. I am also very high on Josh Jacobs. I am as well, but I just think the guys above him that I have are all better than him.
Yeah, and listen,
Just
I'm not saying anything outlandish because I only had him like 1 or 2 spots.
no, no,
Yeah, you
no,
had him
that's
at
not.
5. I had him at 7. It's not
Yeah,
like he's still a top 7 RB and in a good situation,
but
so
I
it's not
could.
that
Yeah,
crazy.
no,
The
we're all
point
very
that I'm
high on him.
trying to
I'm
make.
just saying I do agree with Kate in the sense that I think every guy I have above him is definitely better.
The point I'm trying to make though, I might like I could see Josh Jacobs having a top 3, like being a top 3 running back this year. I could see that. That's the point.
I think he benefited a lot from Jordan Love getting hurt last year, counting stats
Yeah,
wise. I mean, Jordan Love got hurt in Brazil, as we know as Eagles fans. We were watching that game and missed what 4 weeks after that,
yeah.
and then was never kind of the same. But I think they drafted Matthew Golden in the first round. I think they want to start throwing the ball a little bit more. So Josh Jacobs is great. I just don't project his stats to be nearly as good as they were last year.
Yeah, I don't predict the top 3 at all.
That's I don't either because that's why. But like I'm saying, like that would be like I wouldn't think it's crazy.
No, it wouldn't be crazy. I just don't think it'll happen.
All right, let's hear you guys' number 5s.
So my 5 is where I ended up putting CMC. As Coy said, only 4 games he played last year, and they weren't particularly, they weren't great games. Like, they were maybe average. Were they? I mean, I thought they were pretty bad, right?
50 carries, 200 yards,
They were pretty bad.
4 yards per
Yeah,
carry.
pretty bad games.
Really
But
nothing.
I mean, 2 years ago, this guy's the best running back in football. He had a brutal injury. I don't. It's a tough spot. It's a tough spot. I don't know where to put him too much, but I thought the 5 spot was fair, just because we know what he could be. But we got to take into account the injury he had and the games he played last year.
I also have Christian McCaffrey at 5. I don't really have too much to add. I mean, we know he's great when he plays. My only argument is that if you think he's unhealthy, then you shouldn't be ranking him at all. Like, either you think he's going to play every game or you don't really think he's going to play at all. And if you don't think he's going to play at all, then he shouldn't be ranked. If he
Right.
plays, we know he's going to be a top 5 running back. We know it's going to happen. He's an elite pass catcher, he's an elite blocker, and he's an elite rusher, and he's elite in the red zone. And the 49ers are projected for 10.5 wins this year and top 10 offense. Like, if he plays, we know he's going to be a top 5 back.
Well, I think you could argue though that this guy, like, there's a difference between coming back and playing the exact same. If that makes sense. Like,
That's the point I was just going to
Yeah,
make.
but he
I
didn't
don't
get like
think he's going to be
surgery or anything. It
fine.
wasn't like an ACL tear. I mean, it was tendonitis, and I know it was a rough season last year, and tendonitis is serious. But he's fully healthy going into the season, according to all the camp reports. I mean, I don't. I just think if he plays, he's gonna be a top 5 back. So I'm assuming he's gonna be healthy.
yeah, I'm predicting he's going to be very, very good. I can't comfortably say he's going to be a top 5 back just because, I mean, look, injuries are weird. I know maybe he is healthy, and I still think he's great, like you said. I just don't know if I could, you know, like if I knew he was going to be healthy, I think he'd be in my top 3, is what I'm saying. But I don't
Yeah,
know
but
that.
what I'm saying is that if you're nervous about him not playing games, like if there's a part of you that think he's gonna play like 7 games, then you shouldn't be ranking him at all.
I think
So
it's less that and more just if he comes back
Like,
the
there's
same.
let
no
me add on to
world where
this.
Christian McCaffrey ends up being the 8th best running back in football. Either he's going to be a top 5 guy or he's not going to be inside the top 15 because he's hurt.
This is a couple things. Let me add on to this. Because I had him at 7. Kate, I do agree with what you're saying. Having him at 7 for me banks on a couple things. I think he could have like the 7th best running back season if he could play like 12 to 13 games and have like Jonathan Taylor numbers from last year, and that's why I had Taylor right around like 6. Or I kind of think he's going to just take a step back from what he was. So that's why I also have him at number 7. I think he's on the back end of his career, even though obviously training camp reports have said otherwise. That was why I had him at number 7.
Yeah, I mean, I just, you know how I feel about Christian
Yeah.
McCaffrey. I think he's great. And I think I mean, we all had him at, I think we all had him at number 1 last year. So,
Yep.
like I'm saying, like if he plays, I don't think he's like a middle of the pack running back. I think he's elite or he doesn't play and then he's bad. So,
And I
what's,
will say 7's not like, and I know you're not saying this, but 7 is not middle of pack. Like if you look at the guys I had over him, like especially the top 5 RBs for me at least, because I have Jacobs at 5. My top 5 RBs are like absolute stud game changers, and then there's Jonathan Taylor, and then there's CMC. So like I don't think that's not insane.
Yeah,
You know
but
what I mean?
CMC was an absolute stud game changer going into last season, and he
Yeah.
didn't get
True.
surgery. He didn't have like a major injury. It was just tendonitis that lingered all year, and they held him out. I don't know. I don't think it's. I mean, 7. Obviously, I have Josh Jacobs as 7, and I think Josh Jacobs is great. So the 7 spot, if you're a top 10 RB in football, that's still good. I think if he plays 17 games, he'll be higher than 7.
Yeah. Fair enough. All right. Well, entering our top 4 now. You guys did say your top 5, so you both had CMC at 5, yes. So entering our top 4, this is my tier 2 of guys. So that could kind of be a little shocking to you guys. I don't know. Obviously, our top 4 is going to be, in no particular. I'm going to randomly say Gibbs, Saquon, Bijan, Henry, blah blah blah. That's going to be the top 4 here. So at number 4 though, I have Bijan Robinson. So I'm intrigued to see how you guys have these guys ranked. 1,456 yards last year, 4.8 yards per carries, 14 touchdowns. He was reliable. He played all 17 games, 1,887 scrimmage yards. So just a really good all-around back in the receiving game as well. I think around 25 and a half yards per game, yes, and 431 yards total, which actually is less than his rookie year, even with how bad his rookie year was in this situation. Not his rookie year was really good, but the 3 guys ahead of him I think, are just better. Like, well, not just better. I just think they're gonna have a better season. If I'm being honest, it's really close.
So at my 4, I put Jameer Gibbs. He averaged 5.6 yards per carry last year, over 1,400 yards. I believe he tied the league for rushing TDs. Is that correct?
I think you're correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he had as many as James Cook. No, I don't think he did. But he was
Gotcha.
close.
But he was close, and he's only 22 years old. He's already producing like a top back, and he's splitting touches with Montgomery. So I think the guy is just unbelievable. I easily think you could place him higher than four. It was really tough for me with these final four guys.
Gibbs
Yeah,
had
I don't really
16,
think there's a
by the way.
wrong order.
Gibbs had 16 as well, so no, he did have the tie. Sorry, that's my
Wow.
fault.
I did not realize he had that many. I guess because Montgomery got hurt at the end of the year, so he got a lot of those touches. And that was kind of my tiebreaker. Coy, I also have Bijan at 4. I think Jameer Gibbs is. They're very close. I just think there's a world where Jameer Gibbs absolutely could be the running back 1 this season. Like
I
if
agree.
David Montgomery goes down at all, I think we would probably all put Jameer Gibbs at 1 or 2. But I also my deciding factor and kind of my tiebreaker was I think the Lions, Ravens, and Eagles offenses are going to be significantly better than the Falcons. So I really think that those 3 guys are just more important and have a better chance of putting up better stats than Bijan because I don't think the Falcons even sniffed those 3 teams like total points wise.
Yeah, I could see either or order. But it was a three-way tie for rushing touchdowns. Henry, Cook, and Gibbs all shared at 16. Josh Jacobs with 15, and then number five, Jalen Hurts with 14. So that's a little sexy to see there.
Surely those were long touchdowns.
Hey, we're affiliate podcast. Who cares? So getting into our top three now. Again, this is still my tier two, and I'll explain that in a minute because I do have Gibbs at 3. So obviously my top two is gonna be Saquon and Henry in no particular order just yet. I think that like I'll explain Saquon and Henry just real fast. I think Saquon and Henry are like control game running backs, and Gibbs and Bijan they are too, but like I just don't think they're on that level.
They feel like more of a
They're
luxury, don't
yeah,
they?
yeah. They
Well,
just feel
they're
like they're just when you're leading the game with Saquon and Derrick Henry, it's pretty much over. There's really nothing like you know what I mean. So that's why I have them there, and I'll talk about Gibbs for number 3 here. 5.6 yards per carry, which is just
Oh my
insane.
goodness.
Yeah, we talked about 16 touchdowns, 1,412 rushing yards. His numbers got a little inflated towards the end with Montgomery going down, but I think we're going to see him start to uh, maybe take over a little bit over David Montgomery. So Jameer Gibbs at number 3 for me. I won't add on too much to what you guys said.
So 3 is where I put Bijan, and I, you know what? I think I might be reconsidering. I think I like maybe Gibbs a little bit better. I do like what Coy said about the whole Barkley and Henry are better to control the game. We got to remember though, that Gibbs and Bijan are extremely young, so these guys, so that does make sense, and that is valid in going into this season. But I do think Bijan and Gibbs a few years down the line are going to be like Barkley and Derrick Henry in the
We'll be
sense that they
there.
can just
Yeah.
control a game in the same way. But for now, I don't think I could put Bijan or Gibbs above them. So I think 3's a great spot for him. He's still at an unbelievable season. I just don't think he's where Henry and Saquon are.
So are you sticking with Bijan at 3 or Gibbs?
I'll put Bijan at 4 because Gibbs split snaps and he did almost as much, except for he didn't get as many touchdowns though, even. So I think Gibbs is gonna be my 3, and I'll put Bijan at 4.
Yeah, and I know this isn't like a great argument, especially for a sports podcast, but I just think when I watch Jameer Gibbs, it looks better than Bijan Robinson.
That
I
makes
just think
complete sense. I
I
actually
just think
completely know
he
what you're talking about.
looks better when he plays. I like the type of running back. And David Montgomery's known as their red zone guy, but I think Jameer Gibbs is excellent in the red zone too. Like he could easily be the best running back in football this season, and I don't think anybody would be shocked at it.
Yeah,
So Gibbs is my 3, but are we going to 2 or was that number 3?
That we're
that
at
was
3 for
3.
Gibbs there.
All right, so Gibbs is my number 3. Coy, who's your number 2?
This is my tier one of guys. I know I already explained it. I think we're all going to be in agreement here. I think we all agree Saquon's one, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Saquon's.
Okay. All right. So I'll take some of the heavy lifting here on Derrick Henry real fast. Kate, I know you especially. You let out like a gasp when I said Jameer Gibbs at 5.6 yards per carry. Derrick Henry was 5.9, which was actually higher than Barkley's as well. Barkley was at 5.8. So Derrick Henry 1,000.
And Gibbs and Barkley's O lines were better.
Yeah, so that's insane. Derrick Henry 16 rushing touchdowns, 1,921 yards, just insane. And even at the back end of his career at age 30, he played all 17 games. That's as reliable as it gets. That's like 2,114 total scrimmage yards. I don't know what more you could ask for from Derrick Henry. And I, listen, I think it would be fine to put Henry over Saquon. I don't think there's biasness here from us as Eagles fans. I think Saquon just had the best RB season of all time, including postseason. Obviously, like total, rushing yards, whatever you want to say. But I think Derrick Henry at number two. I wouldn't say you're crazy if you wanted to put him at one.
I really don't much to add. I also had Derrick Henry at 2, and I agree with the fact that it's not ridiculous to have Derrick Henry at 1. I just don't see how you could do it after what Saquon did.
Funniest part is that Saquon had one of the best seasons we've ever seen, and Derrick Henry wasn't too far behind. And it feels
Right.
like nobody
Yeah.
was talking about Derrick Henry, and I think he had maybe like what 150 less total rushing yards. Like he
Nah,
had like
even less than 100 yards.
yeah, I was gonna say he had like 1,900
But
something.
Derrick Henry
Yeah.
played one more. Derrick Henry played one more game, but honestly, that doesn't matter. Saquon had 25 or so more attempts than him. So, but
Yeah,
listen,
and I
I'm
think
not
Derrick
talking.
Henry. I don't, yeah, no, I Derrick Henry. I don't know about you guys, but he's the best running back I've ever watched with my own two eyes. I mean, he's been doing this since Tennessee. He's unbelievable, and he's going to be a future Hall of Famer, and is showing absolutely no signs of slowing down. So I don't know how you can put him anywhere besides the top two.
Yeah. Watching him and Lamar on my dynasty team last year was literally one of my. It was so exciting. I loved watching the Ravens last season because I had those two guys, and that was like their best seasons.
Dude, I'm looking at and not to sidetrack, I sort of like chuckle. I'm looking at Saquon Barkley's football reference page, and 2005 rushing yards, 13 rushing touchdowns, 2,283 scrimmage yards. Dude, this is insane. 125 rushing yards per game, which led the league. Bro, I mean, that's just absolutely ridiculous. The fact that they let this guy come to Philadelphia, I mean, unbelievable. I honestly, if you guys want to add on to Saquon Barkley there, I don't. I think that speaks for itself.
I think he's the clear one. Not I don't think Derrick Henry being a one's ridiculous, but I think he's the clear one.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
like
there's a chance Derrick Henry has a better season than him this year.
yeah, I agree. And we might not want, or the Eagles might not want to run him as much as they did with 345 attempts. That's just in the regular season, which led the league, and 378 all scrimmage touches was all scrimmage touches, which also led the league, which is kind of crazy because he didn't really have that many receptions. If you look at it, I think just 33, 33 receptions. Um, but dude, that's absolutely ridiculous. So if you guys have any other
Yeah.
pointers to add on Saquon, be my guest.
So
I mean, no,
one of my
go
things
ahead,
about
Eli. Go
Derrick
ahead.
Henry, um, Derrick Henry isn't showing any signs of slowing down, but he is still 30 years old, which is something I think people need to think about a little bit. And I also like Saquon's situation better, and he's 27. So for me, that's why I think Saquon's my clear one. But yeah, I still don't think Derrick Henry's a ridiculous one.
I actually have one more point to add, and it's actually, Cade, you were about to go. Sorry.
I just want to say a crazy stat. By the way, Saquon ended games last year. I mean, as we all know, his home run hitting style that he played last year was, I mean, easily deserves him the number one spot. But also, you want to hear a stat that boggled my mind? How many yards before contact do you think Saquon had last year? Like averaged per rush?
Hit us.
Four.
That's
4
wild.
yards before he was even touched.
Yeah,
Like that
that's
is, and
crazy.
that's why I think that all these worries about like, oh, he got a lot of carries, a lot of running backs that get that many carries get hurt the next year. He is the best offensive line in football, and he didn't take too many big hits last year. 4 yards before even getting touched per carry is unbelievable.
Yeah, that's just ridiculous. Saquon's gonna Saquon, flat out. I want to add one last point, and I think this is the selling. This should be the selling point. Saquon definitely has an edge. It's not fully biased. It's for number one this year. It wouldn't be insane to say Henry's gonna have a better season, but like you can't put Henry over Saquon after this past year, and it's not too outlandish, but this should be the selling point. When the Ravens are trailing or when they need to throw, Derrick Henry has to come out of the game, and that should be the selling point right there, because they need to bring in a passing back. He's never in for like the receiving. He's just not a pass catching back. Just 19 receptions last year. He's only eclipsed over 20 twice in his career. So I think that's actually the best selling point you could possibly give, because when he's on the field, it's pretty much just gonna be a run. Like it's because he can't be on there for a pass.
You
I
can't be
agree.
better than Saquon Barkley if you need Justice Hill to catch your passes.
Yeah. There you go. That's the selling point. All right, guys. I think that's about it. We can run through a list one more time if you want to go real fast. I had Chase Brown at 10, Ashton Genty 9, Bucky Irving 8, McCaffrey 7, Taylor 6, Jacobs at 5, Bijan at 4, Gibbs at 3, Derrick Henry at 2, Saquon at 1.
I had Aaron Jones, Hampton, Genty, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, Christian McCaffrey, Jameer Gibbs, or sorry, switched. Bijan Robinson, Jameer Gibbs, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley.
I had Omarion Hampton, Ashton Genty, Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, Jameer Gibbs, Derrick Henry, and Saquon Barkley.
All right,
There it
guys.
is.
That's our final list. Stay tuned because wide receivers and quarterbacks are coming out soon. And then before you know it, the Eagles will be whooping some Cowboys' ass on Thursday night, September 4th. I'll be there. Not at the game,
Oh
but
yeah.
I'll be there in spirit. So, all right, guys. I'll talk to you later. I'll see you.
I
Say
like
it.